I think triple support is both the best and worst part of Marvel Rivals. Now, when I mean this, I mean that when Marvel Rivals released, they had incredible burp. They had incredible hero design. All the supports were incredibly fun, well designed, but the balance wasn't there, and all the DPS did too much damage to counteract it. So, when people want to play Rocket, but they can't play Rocket because you have to play Right Click Simulator when you play Rocket because all the damage is too high, what did they do? Instead of keeping Rocket how he was, a really fun like off support who would follow around DPS or take off angles, use his gun and use his right click to sustain and bounce heals around so everybody gets a little bit of sustain. They gave his heals a 50 burst heal. They heal more over time. They bounce slower. You can get that burst heal after it hits off a wall again. And they buffed his healing so that way he could fit in with the healing. He could fit in with them, and then that was their solution. And then, oh, he doesn't have a defensive ult. We'll make his ultimate more defensive by giving you the overshields. I think that is a shame, because I think that's the only off healer or off support that's been truly butchered. Because I played Rocket when the game first came out. I thought he was really fun. We would play. People were playing a res comp back then, and so you'd be playing Adam Mantis, and you'd be playing Adam Mantis, Star Lord. It's Star Lord. I couldn't remember his name. Adam Mantis, Star Lord, and Rocket. And so I would be forced on Rocket because the game was first coming out, and I didn't mind playing other characters. Didn't have a real niche where I fit, and so I would play Rocket. And when I played Rocket, I used the gun. You would just shoot one or two heals around, make sure you hit them at walls so that way they bounce within your team and not just go straight out towards the enemy team, and then you switch to your gun. And you can unload like half a clip before your bouncy balls disappear because you can only be under the effect of one at a time. Then you shoot two more, and then you shoot again. Then you reload, shoot two or three more, and then you shoot your actual gun. It was very fun. That's how I played him in double support, and in triple support, if they were two other main supports, I could go on off angles. I could walk up next to my Strange, do the same thing I did when I was a second support, and then blast the other tank. It was fun. He was an off support, and it's good. And I think, based on the way that they're not going to do this. But I think they're going to, right? I don't think they're going to keep Adam and Mantis like off supports. I think they're desperately trying to find some way to make them compete and sustain, because Adam has gotten like 5 buffs to his healing since he released. Not to his damage, not to his ability to compete as a DPS, because that's essentially what Adam is. He's an off healer. He competes with DPS like Hela and now Phoenix, and you poke, and then you have high sustain. You can go on off angles to do that. Instead of giving him movement earlier to help compete in that area, instead of removing fall off or making him do more damage earlier so that way you can compete with Hela and Hawkeye and be like a lesser damage DPS, but much more sustain, team util with the soul bond and with a mass res, instead of making him compete in the field that he was already supposed to compete in, they just, increased his healing a bunch. When Mantis wasn't good, instead of doing that, increasing the damage, increasing her damage boost, so that way that was more useful. And I know if you do increase the damage boost, it makes her really broken at top tiers, especially in a triple support comp, but instead of doing anything else with her kit, they increased her healing. Which, that one I can get behind, because as a tank, you would receive like 100 healing over 2 seconds. That was really bad. Like, even in triple support, I could not rely on Mantis to even help to keep me up. So I'm glad they made it percentage based, but my point still stands that they focus on the healing and not any other aspect of their ult. Even when Adam did get buffs, not their ult, their kit. Even when Adam got buffs to his ult, it wasn't in the utility of his ult. It was, you can grab people from farther away, you get more health when you respawn, and you get all of your health virtually because it gives you bonus health up that equals your max health when you respawn. they increase the healing of it, essentially. Which, it's mass res. It doesn't need a massive healing output. It's mass res. And he gets his ult faster, so you have mass res more often. There was a time when I played a game, and I'm not high rank. I just play casually. I know when I talk, they always reach out beyond my audience, so I try to say that. And we played against Luna Adam. Luna never died, because they had the Adam team up, where she just got healed for that person taking damage. Adam was doing a lot of damage, and because Adam was able to do a lot of damage, I'm going to be honest, their Adam was really good. Hitting headshots, constantly had healing up, right? And that's how it should be, right? You should be able to be good and hit headshots and apply pressure like that. But every single fight, they had mass res. They had mass res on their entire team over... It was about double the amount of times they had Luna ult. Which is not very fun to play against. I'll tell you that. Because if every single fight I have to win the fight twice in order to make any sort of progress, it's not fun. And I really think that their obsession with buffing the sustain and the healing output of their healers, instead of just, oh, these guys do too much damage, poke is too strong because they do too much constant damage, we'll nerf the damage, so that way the healing can keep up. Their output every single time has been to increase the amount of healing, which is why I think triple support is not a problem. Because when the game first came out, triple support was not a problem unless you were playing Loki Luna Cloak, because then it was sustain. It was high sustain meta. It wasn't utility and damage, because if you look at their off healers, Mantis, Adam, Rocket when he first launched, but now it's just right click simulator with nothing else. Rocket when he first launched, on launch, Adam, Ultron, Mantis. I missed one of them the first time, but there's four of them. They can't really compete. Sure, I've seen people going, yeah, but I do the same amount of healing as Ultron and everyone else. It's 35 health per second. If I try and play cover, I play tank. I'll play cover. I'm not always the best. I watch back my death cam and I go, I thought I was playing the cover better. I was right out in the middle of the open. But if I take a lot of damage, sure, Ultron can heal me, and he will get more healing than the other support. But he won't heal me. It's not good enough. And I don't know how to describe that any better than if Ultron heals at figurative numbers. If Ultron heals at 100 damage per second, and I'm taking 50 damage per second, that his number's going to go up 100 every second, but my health is going to go up only 50 every second. And if Luna heals at 200 health per second, and I heal, and I'm taking 50 damage per second, her number's going to go up 200 every second, but mine's going to go up 150 every second, which means I will reach full health faster. Which means Luna's not going to get as much healing off of healing a tank than Ultron will. I hope that makes sense. It's the only way I know how to explain it. My friend doesn't understand what I'm trying to say when I say that. But it's why sustain healing, like Rocket's healing balls sometimes if the fights go on long enough, and Ultron will end up with a lot of healing, even though it's not as effective. Because right now, the meta is burst a bunch of damage, do a bunch of healing. And they need to nerf everything to make room for this, because Rocket's sustain healing, paired with his being able to actually do damage, is good. But having to give him the burst on top of it, because the sustained heal over time isn't enough, because you won't nerf the damage, means you can't use the gun, which means Rocket is a butchered off healer. He's not good anymore. You need to make room for both burst healing and sustained healing, because Adam does not do a lot of sustained healing. He does burst healing for himself and maybe one other person. His heals diminish in value the more people that you are trying to heal at once. which is why he's really good at take an off angle, sustain himself, die, res, take the off angle, sustain himself. But why would you ever play Adam in that context when you could play Phoenix or Hela or Hawkeye or Star-Lord? They don't make Adam compete in that space. The only one that they've tried to make compete in that space, I actually can't think of it. I don't think they ever have. I was going to say Ultron, but they've never touched Ultron's damage or his movement or his ability to heal himself. They gave him a second drone. They increased the drone's range. They have nerfed the healing quite a few times because AFK healing is stupid. It's not very good unless it's bad, like Penny's healing. If Penny's nest healing was very good, it would be terrible to play against. Penny would be broken. So it's not good for the game unless it's bad for the character, and it's just a bad character design. Honestly, hear me out. I'd rather you increase the amount of shield that Penny can have to like 200 of the blue shields, get rid of the healing over time, completely axe it, and if you don't axe it from her teammates, just axe it from herself, and then double the rate at which you get it, so that way she has some means of blocking damage. Because right now, the healing over time isn't fast enough to heal anything, which means you never get any shields over time, unless you're just waiting. And then if I get to low health, it's not enough to boost me up. I don't get bonus health to, like, do that. But that's a whole different take. That's a whole different thing. Whatever. They didn't buff any of Ultron's abilities to compete in the DPS space, because Ultron is a DPS that has strategist abilities. They instead increased his abilities to perform as a strategist. Drone 2, damage boost, the shielding, increased drone size, lower, and then they're fluctuating the healing per second. I think this game has a really, really bad pattern of butchering off healers. And if they add more supports, this game does not like to add characters that fit in their role very nicely. Like, how do I explain this very well? They released Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic, every tank with maybe, you could argue, the exception of Emma, because Emma's more of a hybrid than just a sheer off tank. And even when, not Invis on release, but Invis when in prime Invis, they all kind of function as DPS. They added supports. There's been 2 supports that's been added since the launch of the game. 3 supports that have been added since the launch of the game. Gambit, Ultron, Invis. Ultron acts as a DPS. Gambit can act as a DPS, should act as a DPS most of the time. He's a playmaking support. They added a bunch of DPS, but for the tanks that they've added, Thing acts as a frontline DPS. You just punch people. You punch people, you use your util, but you're using your util to get kills. Almost all the other tanks, Rogue, Angela, that might be it. Rogue, Angela, Thing, Emma. Emma's like a hybrid between a main tank and an off tank, though. They all kind of function like DPS, and it's fine. I like having characters that don't fit nicely in their role. They flex over roles, like Mr. Fantastic. I wish they made him more of a tank character, where you can use your util to protect your team, which means one tank comps are valuable because you play one tank and Mr. Fantastic. You get more damage, a little less team protection, but you still have some team protection in the form of Mr. Fantastic and your other tank. Mr. Fantastic, I believe, does not provide that to his team. He's very tanky. He has high sustain, but so does Daredevil. They don't share it with their team unless they get kills, and Mr. Fantastic doesn't have a crazy high damage output unless it's to the entire team, which, at least in my ranks, only farms support ults. Anyways, I like that they have them flex over roles. I like that the roles aren't card cutoff lines where people can and cannot be. But they don't like it that way. Like I said with Adam, he is a DP. He functions like a DPS that helps his team in more than just dealing damage and getting picks. And instead of buffing that, the thing that made him unique amongst the other healers, they've nerfed his Soul Bond, which is his only team utility, and they've buffed his healing like 4 times, and they buffed his ult like 4 times. They finally gave him mobility, which could help him compete in the DPS space at season 6.5. So long of Adam being bad because he cannot compete in the DPS space. Genuinely, I think if on release, Adam could compete with Hela. Like, there was a trade-off. You play Hela for more damage, Adam for the same amount of, for just a little less damage, but he can sustain longer. Team, he has team util, and you play it for more util but a little less damage. If he could compete in that space, I think he would have been goated on release. Triple support would have been played all the time, and not with 3 sustain ultimates, with Adam and 2 other supports. And I think that people would have still been mad because of mass res, but I don't think that's as bad as sustain. I don't think that's bad at all. I think triple support played for utility or like to swap in DPS is good. Like triple tank, you play 2 main tanks or you play 2 main tanks or a main tank and 2 off tanks, and one of your off tanks takes the role of DPS, but they have more health. That's good. But why would you do that when you have Mr. Fantastic and Daredevil that not Mr. Fantastic, because he is supposed to be like a tank hybrid, but you have Daredevil who can have the same amount of health through utility mashing, using all of his abilities to gain overshield. I think they have a very high, they have a very, very high repeatable accuracy of taking characters that are good, specifically the supports. And they don't fit in the support role very well. They're like a mesh, and they put them in there more. Except, yeah, I think it's a shame. And that's about it for me today. See you guys later. Wet Willy!